Hey guys, your friendly neighborhood pad user here. Today we're going to be talking about F1 2020, all the features, all the things that are new in the game that I can talk about and share with you at the moment. So let's just jump straight into the video, no beating around the bush. I'm just going to list them off all in kind of dot point form and explain where I need to. So there is now a rear view mirror and it is customizable as well. So you can adjust, I think what it looks like, or the positioning of the rear view mirror as to where you want to see the cars behind it. It's really clear. It's the same frames per second as the rest of the game, obviously, but you can actually see clearly what is going on behind you. So that's going to be useful for people like me, if you know what type of videos I do. But obviously it's going to be useful for competitive racing and all that sort of stuff. So you know where cars are behind you, so you know where to defend, you know how to not make mistakes by taking other people out and all that sort of thing. And yeah, I think that's a good addition to the game. The crowd changes upon the weather, so if it's starting to rain, the crowd will get umbrellas. If it's starting to dry up, the crowd will go from umbrellas to just taking away the umbrellas. So that means that you can use it as an indicator for when you need to switch on to dry tires or wet tires. I think it's like probably around 1 to 2 laps away from when the switchover point is. Devin Butler and Lucas Weber are not in the game. F1 2019 and F1 2020 were made in parallel to each other with two different like kind of groups of developers making the games at the same time. So Lucas Weber and Devin Butler may return. It's rumored that they're going to return in the future. We might not have seen the last of them. The Overtake button is confirmed in the game, so that means you can activate it and disable it to use up your ERS mode, like all your ERS battery in the one go pretty much. It uses up pretty quickly, and also your ERS also just burns through like a low setting, I'd say. Because even when you're not using the Overtake button, your battery still deploys. It's still like as if it's in a low setting, so therefore you can't just save like all your battery up like over one lap. It takes a bit of time because you're still deploying energy even though you're not using the Overtake button. It's like in a low setting. I think it's comparable to the low setting. You can still control the fuel mix, so there's still that for league racing and all that competitive gameplay. You still have to control the fuel mix. I think that's still an okay addition of the game. Like, it's something we can manage and use fuel when we need to, and start saving it at tracks where there's a lot of corners like Monaco, or those like twisty bits where you don't want to be using high fuel mix, so that way you can save the tires. I think they should have kept that, and they did. There is some new cutscenes with celebrations and all that sort of stuff when drivers jump out of the cars. I think there's better sense of like vibrational feedback through the controller. I can't talk about how the wheel how the wheel feels because I haven't used the wheel yet on this game, so I can't give an accurate representation of how the wheel stacks up against the controller just yet. So you might want to go check out Tyrell Limitless's video. I did a collaboration with him where I drive on the controller and he drives on the wheel around Austria, so you'll be able to see the results from that in his video. There's a new tire model, so yeah, they've gotten rid of that groove in the center of the tires when the tire was first new, so it looks more realistic to real life in that sort of way. Overall, there is a whole lot more grip. There is so much more grip in the car. Not just, I know people saying, oh, the pad's overpowered, but like overall, there is more grip. There's more downforce in every car so far, and it's a lot more satisfying and easier to drive the cars in general. The curbs are way easier to take at lower speed, and a lot of tracks have been reprofiled from their original state in 2019. You can now play split screen with a friend when they come over. It's an interesting addition to the game. I think they had a lot of technical problems in introducing it, so that's why it's so late on in the game like life cycle. Like, it's taken until F1 2020 to introduce it. So it's a neat addition, so you can play with your friend casual races. Something to do when your friend or your mate comes over and you want to see who's better at the game. There is now prevention of spamming downshift, so it will limit to how fast you can actually downshift on the game. So you can't spam from 8th gear to 1st gear. It stops people going for extra rotation in some kind of way. You can still kind of achieve it, but like it's not as viable as it was in F1 2019. You're better off playing the game the way it was kind of meant to, more realistic. The engine doesn't cop so much of a hit from you just absolutely downshifting and using engine braking that way. there's like massive improvements to staying in higher gears and the amount of grip that you get from that. I'd say that staying in higher gears, you can be like first turn of Austria is like 4th or 5th gear. You can stay in that and you'll still get a really good turn in. There's custom podium emotes, so I think with the Schumacher Dlc, there's obviously one podium celebration you'll get from that. I think there's a bunch of stuff that you'll probably be able to unlock as well from multiplayer. I don't know yet, like it hasn't been confirmed I think, but I'm assuming that if they've introduced one already, then yeah, you can unlock these kind of emotes that you use when you get onto the podium and celebrate. So that'd be a little bit of customization you can bring to your multiplayer experience in that sort of way. So yeah, you can't hit the brake and the throttle at the same time, or else it will cut power to the engine. You can't do, like, I guess in a way, like trail braking, that sort of thing, like when you sometimes overlap with the brake and the throttle. You can't do that anymore. So you got to make sure your actions are definite, like you intentionally want to brake or intentionally want to accelerate. You can still ease off throttle and whatever, but you can't accelerate and brake at the same time. So yeah, it stops people, I guess, exploiting the game in that sort of way. I'm not sure really what people were doing earlier, but yeah, you can't use that anymore. Yeah, the Michael Schumacher DLC comes with a bunch of multiplayer car liveries and also race suits, helmet, gloves. And when you drive those classic cars in whatever game mode you choose to do so, you can actually, like, you're actually using the classic suits and classic helmets from the era that the car was from. So that's quite a nice addition to the game. Zandvoort, the addition of Zandvoort is actually laser scan. They had LiDAR information from I think the Dutch government or something to that effect, where they were able to get the laser scans of the track and use that information when developing the game. However, the banking was new still, so that might not be completely 100% accurate, but majority of the track is laser scanned, so it's good to see the Codys are stepping up their game with the techniques they use to create the realism in the tracks. So I'm going to talk about my team mode. It's like where you get to manage your own team. You become the 11th team on the grid. You get to design your logo, color scheme, and race suits. They don't have to match colors, but you get like a preset kind of vibe here. Like it's maybe 1 to 2 layers, and it's similar to the way you designed the multiplayer car, I think. So yeah, you got a little bit more customization options. You got to manage the morale of the team itself and all the workers or the developers in certain departments of the factory. So that way it's similar to career mode in the way that where you get interviewed by Will Buxton, which is another addition of the game. Will Buxton is now in the game. I've seen a character model of him and it looks fantastic. So it's good to see that they're bringing more immersion in the game with people from the F1 scene. So that's really interesting to see. Like it's going to be really cool talking to Will Buxton when you first join into the game. I'm not sure if it's continuous for the my team mode, but when you first initially talk to Will Buxton, it will affect the morale of departments. You can now hire a secondary driver, so I think this is going to mostly come from F2, and then when you have more money and more influence, you can get an F1 driver. But an F1 driver is not going to join you if you have a crappy car, and like they're not going to go from a Mercedes to a Williams just because you pay them more. They're going to need some kind of security with the type of car that you're going to be giving them. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of intricacies that have been added to negotiation with performance and money into the driver market. And if you fail to negotiate with your current driver or get an F2 driver or something, I do believe if you are that poorly running your team, you will be forced to select one from the backup list, basically. And that is the list of drivers that were included in the classic mode when you go for Grand Prix. All those driver names, like that's the type of drivers that you're going to be able to pick from. And yeah, you'll be lagging around the back with the driver that's not performing as well. R&D resets happen the same way they do in career mode, so that way you get like these resets potentially in different departments at the end of each season. It's pretty much exactly the same as it is in career mode. So now there's power unit based upgrades. When Ferrari chooses to upgrade their engine as an engine supplier, that means cars like Haas and Alfa Romeo will also upgrade their engine, so you don't have to worry about the engine supply kind of upgrades. I think, I'm not entirely sure how that works in if you want to upgrade something to do with the powertrain yourself. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to fall into place, but I think you might still be able to upgrade things in that sort of area, just not the power unit itself. So when you first announce your car and your team, your car will be cinematically revealed. There is like this whole calendar system that is in my team mode. So it goes through, like, at least you can skip forward through the events, and yeah, you got to manage how your the team's time is allocated, whether you want them to go on vacation to boost morale, all that sort of thing, and what departments you want to work more efficiently and look after more. So you're like completely taking over with the complete management aspects of the team. Will Buxton team interviews will obviously impact the team setup upon entry into the my team career mode. So I'm not sure if that's going to progress through the entire season, like, of my team mode, but it will be when you first start up at least. So customization is still preset similar to multiplayer and that sort of way. It's just a range of skins where you can change the color. You get a bunch more from the DLC, I think, so that is another thing that's an addition to the game with more different kind of liveries. You get 5 to 6 sponsor slots to put on your wings in all different areas of the car. Although they are fictional sponsors, they are not real sponsors for your My Team mode. This is just because of licensing issues. They couldn't include real sponsors, so you're using fictional sponsors. When you're upgrading your facilities, you'll actually see a visible improvement when you upgrade your team throughout My Team mode. So it's quite nice to see your team go from like a smaller factory layer into a bigger factory layer, or a more clean, sleek design. So that's something that you can actually see visually improve. So in My Team mode, you get to select sponsors, albeit they are fictional. You get to train your drivers, you get to manage your marketing efforts, you select your advertising partners, time allocation into each department, and like vacations I've already explained. The engine supplier you get to select. And yeah, your secondary driver matters for performance. Like, so if your secondary driver isn't doing well, then they're not going to reap as much R&D points as they would if they were performing better. So your secondary driver, like your dynamic that you have with your secondary driver is completely different, because you want them to do well. You don't so much care about being the best driver in the team. You just want the team to become the best it can be. If you make poor development decisions, you will run your team into the ground. You need to make sure that you do select the correct management decisions when you're developing your team. It'll take approximately 2 seasons with like all correct decisions to make your team go from bottom to top, but that is if you do all the correct decisions. You can hire F2 drivers from the start. I think that's when you're first starting off. I think you need to select an F2 driver. Yeah, and you need to do your best to motivate each department to perform to the best of their ability. You need to be able to generate funds and resources, manage team and staff activities. Each driver has their own attributes in this mode, so you got experience, racecraft, awareness, and pace. You can develop each of those aspects through training, so that way you can look after your secondary driver. R&D points are separate from cash itself, so they are 2 different currencies in the game. And you get a calendar of events where you get amount of time allocated, so you'll get this currency of time, and you can allocate that time as to where you want things to be developed. You can upgrade aero, chassis, powertrain. Obviously, I'm not sure how that's going to work with the introduction of power supplies having more effect on that. Also, you can upgrade durability, personnel, and marketing. So that's going to wrap it up for my team mode. We're going to jump into my career mode, just the standard career mode, and we'll talk about that now. It is separate from my team mode altogether. You can customize the size and calendars of the season, so you can select the tracks, the amount of tracks that are involved in the season. and you can do that season to season. You can also, I think this is also carrying over with the power supply upgrades. If Ferrari once again upgrades their power unit, then if you're Haas, then your power unit will also upgrade. There is a new rush development mechanic, so that way when you want a developed part to be as soon as possible but with a higher chance of failure, you can implement that into the game as well if you want to take a risk. Contract negotiations are a whole lot more intricate. You want to get the best deal to make money, so that way you can buy perks. Perks include social media team, power mapping, media coaching, development feedback, and a bunch of others, I think. Development feedback would be helping develop the car, maybe more R&D points. Media coaching would make you, I think you get more interviews, so you'd get more interviews with Buxton, I think, so that way you can adjust how you are perceived by different departments like morale and also rivalries, I think. I'll talk about that more later. Power mapping would be about engine wear, and also social media team would be your marketability, I think. Your press interviews with Buxton, they will affect who your driver rivalry is. I think your driver rival is selected by how you react to Buxton's questions, I think. Drivers will retire and transfer like they did in F1 2019, except they can retire, and F2 drivers, I assume, will move up through the field. That's going to wrap up the career mode part. Now we're going to jump into accessible steering, which I haven't seen anybody really talk about yet so far. So it's a more casual race style. You can select this before entering into like a Grand Prix mode or a career mode. I think it's only for offline modes because it's not for competitive gameplay. That way you can't go into time trial and use this kind of mode to gain an advantage, I guess. I don't know, it's not really to do with that. It's just for casual gamers that are jumping into it for the first time to help them out a whole bunch. It'll reset people with the track if they drive off it and they can't get back onto the track. It will also give you a bunch of other assists, manage your ERS and all that sort of thing, fuel mix, traction control, steering assist is what it really helps with. So when you're entering into a corner, it'll preempt that corner and help you steer. So it'll like start steering for you. It won't be 100%, probably like 50% of the effort is given to you by the game itself, but you need to do the rest of the steering, but you know what's coming up at least. And that's going to be whole helpful for the drivers that you see in my videos mostly. So actually it won't be because it's not a multiplayer, god damn it. But anyways, that's going to wrap up this video. Hopefully you found this useful. I've tried to condense everything I know so far down into one video alone, and there'll be more information released soon from Codemasters, so stay tuned for that. I'll do my best to try and make as many videos as possible regarding that new information, and subscribe to the channel is really appreciated if you enjoy my content. Also leave a like on the video, it also helps me a whole bunch. I'm also going to be doing a giveaway later on when the F1 2020 game comes out, so if you want to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and subscribe to the YouTube channel, that's basically when you will be notified, and it's basically half the job's done that way already. You can just basically almost win a game without even knowing about it. So yeah, I'll be doing that later on when the game actually comes out, so stay tuned for that, and I'll see you on a brand new video. Thank you so much for watching.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe on the video if you want to help the channel out, and I'll see you all on a brand new one.